Now, with all the talk about UFOs, I thought it'd be a good time to go through, and I talk about UFOs right now. I'm recording this in September, mid-September of 2023. And of course, there's all kinds of UFO disclosure, whistleblowers and things like that coming forward. So that's got me digging into some older UFO literature that I have around. And it's funny seeing this book. I remember, I still think of this as a new UFO book, even though it's 26 years old now. This is Alien Agenda, by Jim Marrs, author of Crossfire, and investigating the extraterrestrial presence among us. And I believe this is from 1997. Let me just double check. Yes, it is. And this book is special to me because my father got this, and I think it's still inscribed somewhere by my dad, from right after this came out. We picked up this book and a few others, and we're digging into some of the UFO stuff before we went on a road trip to Dulce, New Mexico. So anyway, overall, this is Jim Marrs is one of those authors. I met him at an event in Dallas. Good night, it's probably been 10 years ago, where he was talking about not this book. He had moved on to some other topics, but he was at I think it was at a Michael Tellinger, and he were kind of top billed at this deal where he was speaking about some different parapolitical topics. And Jim Marrs is no longer with us now, but Jim Marrs' books are a little frustrating in that they tend to be more of a compilation of other people's research work that he compiles together and releases. Not necessarily taking credit, saying that he's the guy, but it's almost like some of this stuff is kind of packaged for the more mainstream audience. So this is one of those that, like, I think I originally got this at Hastings Books. So a lot of his material was kind of run through a filter and released to the general public. So by the time Jim Marrs published it, you knew that it was kind of old hat by then. Overall, this is not a terrible alien, book about the UFO phenomenon. There are some fascinating cases in this. It's a good overview of the subject. I remember at the time when I first read this, one of the things that really got my attention was some of the weirder stories. To me, some of the weirder stories was like a guy who witnessed a car that pulled off up on a hill somewhere north of Houston and was flashing its lights, and like a UFO appeared and flashed lights back at this car, and they seemed to be like communicating somehow, and then the car took off. And that kind of stuff really intrigues me, because I think that human UFO angle, I think, is really kind of, that's where you really have to focus your attention, because I think a lot of this disclosure business, I think a lot of that is political theater. So anyway, unfortunately, not a whole lot to say about this. A lot of this information is covered in a lot of other books. The main thing that he does here is he puts it all in one place. So there is that. So if you're new to the UFO subject, this is a good jumping off point. But unfortunately, I hate to say this, but I don't look at Jim Marrs as necessarily I wouldn't say disinformation, but I would say he's one that you have to be real careful about. His information usually comes out kind of after it's already, it's lost its actionable value, and then guys like this come in and print it. So anyway, Alien Agenda by Jim Marrs, decent enough, from 1997.